is your boy Matt Hardy.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, Matt Hardy came out and was saying he made a YouTube video on his YouTube channel, I believe it was, and
I think so, or just Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah. And then oh, you okay?
It's a clip from the next thing we're supposed to be talking about.
Oh God. Yeah. So he was saying that it's time for Matthew Hardy, and then he was like this. So he says it's frustrating. So he says in this video, but I know I'm not the only one that is frustrated today. I'm sure most of the majority of Americans are frustrated. It is frustrating time in this country. I mean, we have so much division. It's insane. It's chaos. Democrats, Republicans, we're in the midst of a killer pandemic that has killed over 140,000 Americans, and both sides of the political parties are trying to weaponize it towards each other for their own gain. There's so much racial injustice, social injustice, so many problems going on, so much division. I can't stand it. It's frustrating. And so I decided to do my part and try to heal some of this division. Trying to do what I can to put it back together. Trying to be a voice of reason. I've had a lot of life experiences, so maybe now is the time for me on AEW programming to just be real and be someone I have never been on TV or on screen before, and that's me. Maybe it's time for me to be Matthew Hardy. Maybe it's time for me to just be me. Now, obviously, before that quote right there, he does talk about he was happy to come in All Elite Wrestling, but he came in right there at the pandemic when they stopped doing crowds.
Yeah.
And of course, he wanted them all to be chanting delete, but that's not what happened. And he didn't expect the Broken Man Hardy would debut on the first ever AEW empty arena. Because that's what happened. Because remember, when Matt Hardy got left, he was in the crowd when Randy Orton slammed his head on the steel steps. Mm-hmm. Then he came over to AEW, and then that's when they was just like, no crowds no more. Like literally,
I'm sorry.
The next week, it was
horrible timing.
It was just terrible timing, and he said,
But it was weird because it was like so weird, so crazy.
It is. And then he said,
looking at this picture of Broken Man Hardy right behind us.
Yeah, and then he was sitting talking about he's supposed to be working with Sammy Guevara, and then he got suspended. So
shit.
He
had a bad run.
Yes, Broken Man Hardy stuff in AEW is not the greatest. But I'm saying, but he was there, and I'm glad he wanted to perform in front of AEW fans. But it's frustrating, and I understand what we're trying to go to now. Once again, obviously, I don't blame him for doing this because it takes a lot of energy to pull off what Matt Hardy does.
I can only imagine. He ain't got no knees or nothing.
Yeah. Matt Hardy, he does the broken stuff. Then he goes through all these different gimmick changes and stuff like that. He still got to wrestle. And I understand, like, now he's been coaching Private Party.
He should honestly just be producing at this point. Like, he need to give his body a rest.
Well, I don't mind the character of Broken Man. He don't have to wrestle all the time. Mm-hmm. But the character of Broken Man, I don't mind that. But I understand that if there's no crowd, mm-hmm. right? It's just like, what do you feed off of? I'm not out there taking these wrestlers' bumps with no adrenaline. I can't imagine what that feel like.
Oh my God!
And we have seen some crazy ass matches since the whole pandemic era started in WWE and in AEW. So I don't even know what it's like. Like to be able to go do your job. Like imagine me and Primetime as YouTubers, right? Mm-hmm. And say that as we're trying to build our channel. Can you imagine working 4 straight months knowing that you got to make some killer ass content, but there's gonna be no subscribers,
nobody watching?
That's hard to do.
I can only imagine. It's probably like having a cinder block thrown at your body. And it's like I'm just doing this, just out here.
Now, once again, people watching on TV. I understand you want to be on TV for people, but they're not there.
I'm about to say, who's feeding off of TV? Because the Broken Matt Hardy gimmick only really works when you got an arena full of folks going delete.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, if we're working and we're not getting no subscribers, but we know people are watching the videos, that's frustrating. Much everything going on, and so if he wants to be like, I want to be Matthew, and I want to be able to like help bring, I want to bring help somehow. I want to on television and behind the scenes stuff like that. I'm cool with it.
So he essentially wants to be Chris Jericho.
Kind of.
Not in the sense
I feel like this is definitely a character.
You said what happened?
I feel like this is definitely a character, though.
It could be, but I say Chris Jericho because his primary goal in the last few years has been putting over new talent.
Yeah.
To in one way or another.
You're right. I mean, but even if it's not wrestling, if it's like, hey, I was part of one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Let me help out Private Party. Because they're still young guys. They still take time. They kind of botch a lot. Kind of like how Generation Me was back in the day. So, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Prime. So, when that happens, it's like, okay, if I could take these guys, especially them as a black tag team, if I could take them under my wing and then, help them out a little bit that way, then, I'm cool with that. If I want to come out and just be, of course they're going to turn it into some wrestling angle, but I don't got to come out and perform and do all this other stuff that is going on during this pandemic. So maybe when the crowd comes back, Broken Back Matt Hardy comes back. Mm-hmm. But it's just, that was a little side story I wanted to, get on.